I know a lot of folks want to, times are hard. They want to get into drive Uber, Lyft, and it's an easy way to get in and make some cash. But I'm gonna bring to your attention some messed up things that are happening in the New York City area. More importantly, Westchester County, in regards to this unlawful things. My story begins December 1st, 2016. Received a trip from Uber, which is illegal in Westchester County if you're doing point-to-point trips, which means that if my trip originates in Westchester or anywhere within the Westchester boundaries and I drop off in the same exact place, that's illegal. But now I'm able to something called reciprocity. I'm able to pick up in Westchester and take outside of anywhere Westchester without any issues. Now, with that said, I actually got the trip, called the gentleman. He assured me that he was headed to Connecticut. I picked him up across the street. I know that those Westchester taxis they lose their head if you go into any train station and pick anybody up, even though it is a prearranged trip, but they think you're stealing their business. So I picked up across the street where there was a Westchester County police officer. More importantly, P.O.K. Marco. Very important, because this guy is going to keep popping up. Pulls me over, starts asking me questions. I ask him why he pulled me over, because I had not done anything illegal. He told me that it was a safety check, and that he's able to do a safety check without me having, he can just do it because he felt like it. So he starts asking me credit, license, registration, TLC information, where was I going, can I show him the trip log? Unfortunately, when you're in a trip, you can't access anything else. You're in the trip. I can't access a log, per se, because I'm inside the trip. The app doesn't allow you, for safety reasons, and allow you to go anywhere else. And another thing is, if it's your first trip, there is no log. It just shows one trip. What is it to be logged? There's no multiple trips. So going forward, he starts asking me questions. I'm telling, he's probing because he wants to hit me with something. Just asking any question he could, just to slow me up, to see if I'm gonna say something and tell on myself, I guess. Gentleman in the back tells the cop, hey, I'm headed to Connecticut, yada yada yada. He's not hearing it. Goes back to the car. He comes back and he tells me that the company that I was leasing at the time, the company that I was leasing the car from, owed tickets. Not my vehicle, but the company that leases owes tickets. So I said, okay. I mean, I can't dispute that. I don't know. It's not my car. It's owned by a bigger company. I think they own, at the time, they own like 700 cars. So fine, I'm thinking to myself, I know this guy's gonna probably impound the car, but I'll just take all my stuff out and I'll whatever, I'll be fine. He actually comes back with 5 tickets. 5 tickets. 5 tickets. The first one being, these are all the tickets, by the way. This is the judge's handwriting at the court hearing. The first ticket being solicitation. Solicitation means it's like a hail. You ever see like a yellow cab, for you non-city folks? You see someone in New York City, see somebody throw their hand up, the yellow cab just pulls over. That's solicitation. By law, yellow cabs can do that. By law, any for hire vehicle, non-yellow taxi can't do that. Gives me another ticket for no trip log, even though he saw my iPhone sitting facing me, because I have it on a stand, and he saw the trip where I was headed to. He gave me a ticket for no trip log. When he asked me for the registration, we're accustomed to giving insurance, registration information, and the TLC pass. They give you a piece of paper when the vehicle passes and it has its permits. And I handed it to him, so he knew that my vehicle had valid registration, valid insurance, and it had recently passed TLC inspection. Not only that, but all New York, I can tell you, well, New York City and New York City area cars have medallions on them. So once they pass, on the front windshield and on the 2 rear windows, they have the base, license plate number, and a whole bunch of information letting you know that this is a valid, and the expiration date, letting you that it's a valid TLC car. So he wrote me a trick for no vehicle TLC permit. Another ticket he wrote me for was no valid ID. By law, we have to have our IDs visible. We usually, fix them to the dashboard. Everybody has them fixed to the dashboard. So the police officer doesn't even have to ask me for it. All he has to do is look at my dashboard, and that's where he'll find that. Somehow, some way, he felt that he didn't have to ask me for it, because he didn't ask me for it during the stop, and he didn't look at my dashboard just to, hey, maybe it is there. So that's another fine. And on top of him knowing that I was headed to Connecticut, on top of him seeing on my phone that I was heading to Connecticut, he still gave me a point-to-point ticket. So you can see all the fines: solicitation, no trip log, no vehicle TLC, no TLC license myself, and then he gave me a point-to-point. And my answer to that, when I went to court, was I went to the Uber website and I printed the way bill. Obviously, it only says $5 because the car was impounded, so the trip wasn't, it wasn't completed. But at the very, very bottom, you see that I was headed to Hartford, Connecticut. Going forward, we're sitting in court. I start asking me questions. I start to state my case. I show them my TLC ID. I show them all the same registration, the same inspection, the same TLC paper that I gave to the officer. I gave a copy to the judge. I gave them a copy of this to let them know, and it has a date and time stamp on it, so they know exactly where I was, and time and place and where I was headed to. And at the very end, he asked me if I have any last word or whatever. Do I have any last questions for him? I said, yeah. I just have one question. By law, is a New York City TLC driver allowed to pick up in Westchester, and take outside of Westchester, without any, is it legal for them to do that? Nods his head yes. A couple of seconds later, he comes out with his hearing, and he goes, as you can see on the paper, this is his handwriting. He waives this solicitation, and then he hits me with everything else. In which I ask him, why is he hitting me with the tickets if he knows where I was headed to? If he just told me that what I did was legal, why would he hit me with this? His answer to that was, and I wish they would release the court proceedings because they recorded everything. His answer to that was, do you think you were going to get off everything? It's not what if you're guilty or innocent. It's like, do you think I was going to let you off? You crazy? Fine. And as I'm sitting in my house today, because my car today is the 26th of June. My car was impounded the 24th. It was impounded Monday. And I'm looking at it, and I remember actually reading this at the bottom. The plea entered herein satisfies all charges on the docket, and further, by entry of this plea, I waive my right to a trial and any appeal of the plea and sentence. Something I learned very valuable that day. After he came down with this, and he said that I owe $400, I asked him, I was like, hey, so what's the appeals process? Because I feel like this is unjust. I want to be able to prove my point a little further. They all laughed. It was the funniest thing I've ever said, they've ever heard in their life. They say, there is no appeals process. What are you talking about? Why would there be an appeals? What do you think, this is a real court? And no, there is no appeals process. So even on their little paper here, where it says, if you check here, you can... So I don't even know why it's on this paper. Like, if there is no appeals process, why does this box here for me to check to waive my appeals process? Like, I mean, my appeal, whatever, waive my right to appeal if we can't appeal anyway. So, long story short, in Westchester County, you can get pulled over, given bogus tickets, go to court, prove yourself innocent, and they can rule whatever they want, and they don't have to answer to no one. There's no appeals process. You can't go talk to anyone. You owe them money. All right. As the story goes, I'm looking for different ways to appeal. I was told by one of the workers that I can go and file an Article 78, and then what Article 78 is, I have to take the county of Westchester to the Supreme Court. And not only that, from what the person told me, because it was in like a library upstairs in the Westchester County building, whatever, executive building, I have to pay $300 per ticket in order to fight this. Not only do I have to pay the $300, but it's unrefundable to me, whether I win or lose. It's unrefundable. So I did the math. 5 times 3, that's $1,500 is originally more than the fines that they gave me. The original fines were $1,250, but I have to pay $1,500 just to have the opportunity to fight, to plead, to plead my innocence. I couldn't afford it. It was, to me, I felt like I was being scammed, and I really had no resources or financial resources / financial resources, any kind of resources to fight the county of Westchester. But I knew that later on, actually, we received an email from Lyft and from Uber that Uber was it had already like passed, and they were going to make it legal. So I was like, you know what? If I hold on, I could possibly, ride that wave, and maybe they'll, I don't know, throw it. Once Uber's legal, then all this Uber stuff, they can throw it out. Nope. I went back in, and they told me that they couldn't do anything. They just made life, they don't really, you go into those public buildings or whatever, like state buildings, and nobody's really trying to help you. They're just, they're just tired of being there, and it's like, oh, whatever, whatever. So I'm like, man, this is $400 that, I mean, I guess I'll have to cross the bridge when I cross it type situation. Fast forward, I'm still doing my due diligence, still doing research on the and I see that you can file for a I forgot the name of the term, but you don't, like, when you don't have the money, they give you like a waiver. There you go. They give you a waiver, and then when I went to do the waiver, I was actually 2 days past the cutoff, because they give you I think 90 days to file the Article 78 to sue them. Of course, the person that I was talking to there never told me that there was a waiver. But then when I went back, I was 2 days past my 90-day window. I said, you know what? I can't afford it. I can't plead guilty and pay something that I know I didn't do. I didn't break the law. I follow the law to a T. And that's that, man. It's 2016. 2 years pass. I'm sorry, that's 2017. 2 years pass, and now we're at it's 2019. It's June 24th, 2019. That vehicle that I was leasing, no longer lease. I have another vehicle that's registered to another company, and no issues. My driver's abstract is good. I don't get any tickets. That vehicle that I'm driving doesn't have any tickets. I'm Gucci, in other words. I leave my house. I'm gonna go get gas. I used to get gas a block away from my house, and I make a stop, not too far, and then I'm headed to get gas. And every day, that's a whole nother deal. I live in, when I say, people say I live in Westchester, people think I have money, but I live in the poorest city in Westchester, and the county cops know it. So what do? they do checkpoints 2-3 times a week at the same exact spot. They don't do it in Bedford. They don't do it in Chappaqua. They don't do it in Purdy. They don't do it where those places where there's millions, if not billionaires living, or Martha Stewart is living. They don't do it there, but they do it in Yonkers. They're harassing the people from Yonkers. I'm coming around the bend. Usually when I see them, just not to even deal with them, I just go to the next exit and go to the next gas station, just to not even deal with them. Because they start harassing you, talking down to you, getting aggressive. And, you know, I'm not a fan of people that are talking to me with their hand on a weapon. Like, I'm not a fan of that. So I was like, but today I'm like, you know what? It's my day off. Whatever. This car, in my mind, it's like, this car is fine. Like, they shouldn't bother me. I go by. I'm noticing that all the cars they have pulled over are New York City TLC cars. And I was like, oh my God, these guys, but I'm good. I know I'm good. I don't have anybody in the car. I'm by myself. I go to the checkpoint. The officer stops. He sees my registration is good. My inspection is good. And then he comes to the window and he kind of like, looks, and he's looking at me. He's like, roll down your window. And he goes to me, don't you owe me $2,500? I'm like, sir, I don't owe you anything. I don't know you. I don't think I borrowed money from you. And then he was like, pull over. Asked me for a license registration. He was like, don't you owe tickets? I was like, not that I know. My license, my driver's abstract is good. My license is not suspended. I don't owe any money to anyone. No moving violations, and this vehicle doesn't owe anything to anyone. He goes like, no, you owe me $2,500. He goes back to his car. Goes back there. I don't know what he does. I'm guessing he's calling the tow truck. Usually when they go back there and take a long time, two things: either they're plotting something. Whatever is gonna happen, it's not good for you. Usually, if it's nothing wrong, they'll go in, run your license. All right, he has nothing. Get out of here. But when they take a long time, it's because they're plotting. They're writing tickets, a ton of them, and or they're on the phone with the tow truck because your car is ready to go. He comes back. He asks me for my keys. He's like, I need your keys so you won't run on me. I'm like, where am I running to? All right, here. Like, I gave it to him, and long story short, he tells me that I owe $2,500, and I'm like, okay. And then he's impounding the car that I'm in, but I'm like, this car that I'm in owes 0 tickets to anyone, period. Why are you towing this car? He was like, oh, because in 2016, 2017, you had tickets. I'm like, that's fine. But this vehicle isn't registered to me. This vehicle isn't mine. For you to transfer tickets from me and or another car that I was driving, that car wasn't even registered to me, and then you transfer to another car that's not registered to me either, period, it's not making any sense. Oh, it's the scofflaw. Any car that I catch you in, I can impound and take. Anything. I was like, okay, I've heard of scofflaw, and as the scofflaw works, and I actually have some friends that are police officers. It's the person that owes the money, and anything registered to that person is subject to boot, is subject to the vehicle being impounded, and is subject to arrest if they don't pay that, because they're trying to basically stop people not paying their fines. But I've never heard of one saying, we can take your property or anybody else's property that you're near, or you're in, or or any of that nature. And that's where I'm at with the Westchester TLC. There's no appeals process. So if you get a ticket, whether you're right or wrong, you're eating that ticket. Another thing is, because we have TLC plates and they can see that the plate says TLC, the targeting. The targeting. Everywhere you go, if you see a county cop, 9 times out of 10, he has a TLC car pulled over. Third of all, being able to confiscate things for no damn reason, confiscate property that doesn't belong to the individual that owes, and not giving the option to give it back to that owner, it doesn't make any sense to me. So let's just say they impound the car for me. The owner of the car that I was in should be able to, even if they have to pay impound fees and all that other stuff to get the vehicle out, they should be able to get their property back. No. What they're doing is they're holding on to the car as if the car were mine. And from what I was speaking to the CEO of TLC, and if they want to keep the car, they keep it as my debt, to pay back my debt, even though I don't own the car. It belongs to somebody else that owes no tickets, has nothing to do with the situation. They just let me drive their car. And that's the issue that we have, for you folks that want to drive the New York City area. New York City TLC, different ball game. They have their problems, but there's a lot more fairness. Like you go into New York City TLC, and there's a judicial system. There's an appellate system. They have little people, translators. They have people that'll help you. They have legal aids. There's stuff. Yeah, they do some scummy stuff. Yeah, but it's not this. This is highway robbery. We can write tickets. We can make them stick, and once we make them stick, you'll never get them off. Whether you were right or you're wrong, we're making it stick. And once we make it stick, now we're going after anything we want to get our money back. Whether it's your property or not, you just have to be touching it. We're taking it. You're driving it. Oh, it's not yours. We're taking it. I don't know how constitutional that is. I don't know how much sense that makes. I mean, maybe it's just me, but I feel like it makes no goddamn sense. Good luck out there.